mystery theory. Today we're gonna end this week with a requested video that it's about the case of Audrey and Jonathan. For those of you who helped me in my community page, adding new cases to my list or reminding me of some requested cases, thank you so much. If you haven't, please check my community page and read the cases that people have requested there. And if you have any new ones and you want to add to the list, that'd be great, so I can have my full list again. You see, I had 2 or 3 lists, and when I tried to put them all together in one place, I couldn't find all of them. So I knew I was missing cases. Thank you so much to everyone that took the time to freshen up my memory and add those cases that we'll be shared with you guys later. Now, again, this was a requested video, and you probably heard about the story of Audrey and Jonathan as the Coachella couple. A lot of people believe that because of the name of the place, they went missing during the festival. You know, the festival, it's one of those times in Coachella that it's a place associated, let's say, with fun times. Teenagers running wild parties and a big music festival that a lot of people participate in, especially younger people. Now, it is not, this didn't happen during the Coachella Music Festival. That's something I wanted to clear up because, again, there was a lot of confusion just because of the name where they disappeared. Jonathan was 28 years old at the time, and Audrey was 26, and they started to date recently. We don't have a lot of relevant or important background today because according to some of the latest articles that I found online, this is still an active investigation, and a lot of people believe that the police will be able to crack this case soon, and that it's why they're not sharing much information, or at least relevant to the investigation today. Again, we don't know if they are that close to find them or know what really happened, but some people suspect that is the reason why they're being so secretive about sharing information. Now, what we know is that on May 10th, 2017, Audrey was at her sister's house, and she left. Before she did, she told her sister that she needed to leave because she was going to go meet Jonathan. She told her sister that Jonathan was going to go to Browley, which is about an hour and a half away from Audrey's sister's house, and that she was going to go meet him she was going to give him a ride back home to Palm Desert, which is closer than Raleigh to Coachella. Now, that is what she said to her sister, and it wasn't out of the ordinary. It was pretty common. I mean, she is a 26-year-old woman. I mean, nobody would have suspected anything different going on. She didn't have to lie, but a lot of people found the idea of going to pick up the boyfriend far away to bring him closer to the house when he was supposedly partying with his friends. Kind of a last minute thing and suspicious to some people. I just think that he needed a ride and she didn't care if she had to drive all the way over there. But later that night, a family member received a picture of the couple, and I'm saying a family member of Audrey. But it was an old picture. She didn't know at the time that it was an old picture. She just got a picture with the couple. That was the last contact that anybody had with Audrey. And, later on we will learn that the police didn't really think anything of that picture. To me, it's a little bit weird because let's say you go on a trip and you go with somebody, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever, and then you want to send a picture back home to your sister or a family member. I don't know. It almost feels like somebody was trying to make the family believe that they were together, right? Because why would anybody go through their phone, trying to look at pictures and then all of a sudden share an old picture of the couple with the sister? It wasn't like sharing it on Facebook like a memory or, Throwback Thursday or anything, that was something that was said. This was a particular picture that was sent to Audrey's family. And again, the family assumed that they were together, only to learn later on that this was an old picture. But the family didn't think anything of it. They just assumed they were together and moved on. The next day, they tried to contact Audrey, but she wouldn't pick up the phone. They continued to call friends, family members, even Jonathan, to see if they could get in contact with her. Maybe she had a problem with her phone or something, but it was impossible. Nobody knew about Audrey. Now, at that time, the family decided to report her missing. And it wasn't that hard to find at least her vehicle, because she had a 2010 GMC Terrain the city, particularly of Bowman, in Riverside County, which is 44 miles northwest of Palm Desert, the place where the boyfriend lived. Now you're probably wondering, well, maybe they ran out of gas, or maybe it was broken. When they check those things, because of course that is something that the police must assume immediately. The tank of gas was full, so not only meant that they did not run out of gas, but it also meant that they filled up the tank right before getting in the freeway. So, as you probably know, there are cameras in, I don't want to say every single one, but most freeways in the States and definitely in California. I'm a pretty big fan of them. We travel quite frequently and do it by road trips and, not really taking planes or much, but I love a good road trip, but I hate a road trip with snow or things unexpected. So I'm a pretty big fan of checking cameras before I go to a specific freeway or route that I chose for my trip. And I have to say, when I heard that they had cameras, I immediately knew that it would be hard to see what happened on the side of the road, because the cameras are there for traffic reports and for weather conditions. I don't know if you use them, but you can go to different websites for the state of California, for Oregon, for Utah, and just check different cameras along any specific freeways or routes that are used to travel. And again, you won't see the road, but you would have to be parked in such a specific and small area so you could be picked up by the camera. In this case, it wasn't picked up by the camera. It wasn't in that specific spot where you could have seen something, because again, the cameras are not the best if it was at nighttime to distinguish who it was. But there was no footage of the time that somebody parked the SUV there. But the police didn't believe that this was any kind of foul play involved, because there was no forced entry, or it was not broken down. They did look for any kind of forensic evidence, but they really had nothing to go on. They brought the dogs, and they did pick up the scent of the couple. That is what the newspaper said. And it followed 20 yards west of where it was parked, but got lost there. Now there's something interesting here. A lot of different theories will say different things as far as where, they were traced. Some say that the trace led the dog, the scent, I should say, led the dogs dogs to a fence and that the police didn't cross the fence to check where it was going, which I find it very unlikely. Why bring the dogs if you're just going to concentrate in a tiny area before it doesn't make sense. And there was also another theory that said that actually the dogs kind of continue over the side of the freeway, almost like whoever was in that SUV left and jumped into another car, where specifically is, the area where the dog picked up the scent. There's not a picture or anything, so it could go both ways. But I don't think that it would make sense that the dog went to this fence. The police didn't go beyond the fence, and that because what if? Okay, let's assume that they did. They would have more evidence, of what direction they went. So it really is something that I needed to say because it's a very popular theory on the internet. But again, it wouldn't make a lot of sense if the police stopped at the fence. But was it both of their scents, or was it just Jonathan? I did find a few articles that only mention Jonathan. The articles were all from the same newspaper. I think it's The Sun. But in others, it said that it picked up the scent of the couple. The police doesn't care to clear that up, and I'm assuming it's further investigation, safety, and just trying to keep that part private for whatever reason. I totally understand that. But the questions start as, why would they park there? Where? I mean, were they stopped by the police? Maybe they got a ticket and something happened. Were they broken down? We know that that's not true. We know that they did have gas. And there's no really a record that said that they got a ticket or that a police officer stopped them. Did they just get off of their vehicle because they were being chased and jumped into another one? And that is where, where the dogs couldn't trace them anymore. Was somebody else driving and just stopped the vehicle? I mean, the dogs were trying to find the scent of Audrey and Jonathan, but is it possible that somebody else was there that they're not looking for? Why would Audrey lie about leaving to go pick up her boyfriend in an area an hour, 15, 30 minutes away, and then never leaving the Coachella area? That is something that they learned later on that day. When they check Audrey's record, she never left the area. Her cell phone was pinned to the towers in the same area where she was, close by her sister's house. So, if she didn't leave, why did she lie? Or did something happen between she reached her boyfriend? Not likely. supposed to be with his friends, or, not at home. Let's say not at home. A pizza was delivered to his house, and the pizza box was found inside. So Jonathan was home at 5:45 p.m. that night. And again, a pizza could have been taken or put inside by somebody else in the house. Somebody else could have used his name. Maybe a friend, a family member. You just call the pizza place and you give them your phone number and it will pop up your name. So is it possible that maybe somebody else? It's possible. But the police says that, well, they said at the time that they knew that it was Jonathan who was ordering the pizza. For whatever reason, they must have some kind of evidence, maybe even physical evidence, that he was at the house, and that is why they're not even considering the possibility that somebody else was home. Now, the investigators weren't able to confirm either that he ever went to Browley to go with his friends. And the pizza inside the house, it kind of pointed to the fact that, as they know it, that Audrey lied. And going to Browley was never the idea. And giving him a ride wasn't that the idea either. But why? Why would you lie? Investigators can't really, or at least haven't shared a reason or a possible reason why she would have lied. Today, they've never recovered their phones, so not even today. They don't have any kind of a record that they could have gotten if they had their phones. And the phones were after that night, they were either turned off or they ran out of battery. So it's pretty impossible at this point to find them. Another thing that kind of led the police to believe that they ran away, which is a possibility for a couple of grown-ups, is the fact that they never recovered her purse or his wallet. But they, as soon as time started to pass, they realized that they weren't using anything. No credit card, no debit card, nothing. So why would anybody take that with them if they really are not planning to use it? Now, maybe whoever took them decided to take that with them. But that doesn't mean that they chose to run away, which was the immediate theory, but quickly debunked by investigators themselves. They had to do a background on both of them, not only their relationship, but the relationship that they had with their families. And there's a lot of theories and rumors and things that people have been spreading, but it really, the only thing that the rumors do is kind of point to different direction for the investigation, but really haven't helped. So they have a $10,000 reward for information that would lead to finding the couple. There have been flyers, Facebook pages, a lot of things that the family wants to keep this alive, wants people to remember their faces. They need that help. Now, I'm going to tell you a few of those theories just for adding to the story. And if you are left like, what happened? Maybe these theories would make sense as far as what it's being said in this case, but really, I don't know. One of the theories is that Jonathan owed a large sum of money. When the investigators were questioned about it, they said that they were looking into it. I don't think so. This would have been one of the first things that the police checked. And they said that, well, the investigator in particular, he said that he didn't think that they were involved in any kind of criminal activity. And when you owe that large amount of money, maybe, and you disappear, it kind of leads the police to believe that you were involved in some kind of criminal activity. But as far as their investigation, there was none. So the theory that he owed that money and that they disappeared because of that, it really didn't make sense to the police at the time. Okay. Another thing that was reported and that was connected to the case was a car that was reported stolen in a nearby area. And apparently this car was, I don't know if it was set on fire or, it was basically destroyed. And at first I didn't know how they connected this car to the disappearance of Audrey and Jonathan. But the car was reported stolen that night, okay? And this guy, the owner of the car itself, he was somewhat involved with Audrey. So, coincidentally, the night that they disappeared, this car, was set on fire or, destroyed. And the guy, the owner, happened to be having somewhat of a relationship with Audrey. The police did search his home, but they couldn't find anything, at least they reported to the public. And it was quickly determined that this was an quote-unquote innocent insurance fraud. I don't know what the innocent part, That was insurance fraud, according to the research and the investigation of the police. So that's why, even though a lot of people have that thing, that theory that maybe Audrey and Jonathan had, maybe they were riding in that car that night. There's a lot of crazy theories about why that car was set on fire that day, and disappearance of the couple. Some people believe that Jonathan and Audrey were not exclusive at the time, and that this was a jealous guy. Again, there is no evidence that would point that way. The police did search his home, did investigate the guy, but it actually took them nowhere. So if the couple was not involved with any kind of criminal activity, and if the couple didn't have a love triangle, what happened? Why did you lie about going to Brawley and then stay in the area? Why and how did Jonathan get to her? Because if she never left, he probably ate his pizza and then met her somewhere. But where? I mean, we're talking about a recent case. And we're talking about California, where there are cameras pretty much everywhere. So, and I'm not talking about the freeway ones. I'm saying that if we could trace their footsteps, they must have stopped at a gas station with surveillance footage that we can see. Were they together? Were they alone? Did they fill up that car that the police doesn't really want to talk about? What did they do that night? I'm assuming that there must be footage about, what they did that night, where they went. Maybe to eat, maybe to talk. But I understand that the police is not going to release that information for this purpose, of course. And I truly hope and pray that they know something and that they're keeping it secret, because they're getting closer to solve this unsolved mystery. I also have to say that at first they were in the category of voluntary missing adults. And now the case is under suspicion, missing under suspicious circumstances. So what happened to them? What do you think that they did that night? Do you think that they ran away? If you ask me, and this is my own opinion, this is not facts or anything like that, but I think that they know a lot more, that they probably have footage of them both, and maybe the footage that they have includes somebody else that, for whatever reason, they're investigating and trying to make sure that they can build a case before putting charges or before moving on to investigating a little bit deeper. That's what I think. It is impossible. It is impossible nowadays to watch yourself from surveillance cameras from everywhere. Especially in California. Especially. You are several different surveillance cameras if you move around in a 30-minute period. I mean, they have cameras in beaches, piers, restaurants, gas stations. Unless they did meet somewhere very kind of out of the way. But how did they get there without being noticed, without being... It really doesn't make sense. And again, I hope that the police have more information that they're working on and that they will finally crack this case. But isn't it sad to think about you're here one day and then, talking to one of your friends of yours or your sister, and then all of a sudden they disappear and nobody knows what happened? How is that possible? When we have cases in the news today that we know exactly how it happened, minute by minute, phone records, surveillance cameras, reports of people. I mean, there is not a report of a witness that I could find. And believe me, there must be one, or more than one. Where were those friends that were supposed to be partying with Jonathan that night? Why aren't their statements included in this? Is it because it's private information? It's information that it's being used to find them. Well, I hope that I can come back to you with a solved case for Jonathan and Audrey. I really hope that happens, because I find it a little bit sad and very disheartening to believe that somebody can vanish into thin air, and that we must stay behind, understanding that we will never know what happened. For me, it just doesn't make sense in my head. And again, I hope that the police is closer to find whoever did this or whatever happened that night. For now, that is an unsolved mystery. So thank you for staying with me until the end. And I'll see you